you guys, Tiaza here on freeballedanceclasses.com. So today's talk is going to be very unique. I'm going to be doing a belly talk, but it is going to be more about diet and nutrition. So I'm going to call this category belly diet. And I have been getting a lot of questions about nutrition, what to eat, what not to eat, what are the best foods for practice, before performance, to lose belly fat. You know, I've been getting a lot of these questions, but I never knew really where to fit them except maybe in the belly talks, but I felt like they were a little bit separate from actual belly dancing, so I didn't know how to do it. But in these 30 days of belly dancing, I really want to dedicate one day to answering questions about nutrition and diet, and so I'm going to be doing our first one today, where we talk a little bit about what to eat before and after your belly dance practice. And this could be obviously a class or that you go into, or it could be your own belly dance practice at home, watching videos online, or it could also be like before a performance and after a performance. So first of all, it's important to address what not to eat before to talk really about what to eat. So what not to eat, I would definitely advise you against anything that's going to give you a crash later. You don't want to be starting a class and then like the first 15 minutes of warm up, or just a little bit after, you know, the warm up, you're energetic and then all of a sudden you crash. So avoid anything like that. So that would be like, you know, obviously anything with high caffeine, and anything with high processed sugar like sodas and energy drinks, which I totally advise everybody against them, or also energy protein bars or sports bars that I completely advise everybody against them, because they're nothing but honestly processed food that has a lot of processed ingredients that are really hard for the body to digest. Speaking of things that are hard for the body to digest, that would be the second category of things that I think you should definitely avoid before your belly dance practice. So anything that's going to take a lot of energy from your body to digest is going to make you feel sluggish, and it's going to take the energy away from you. So whenever you eat things that are hard to digest, your body takes all its energy and puts it into the digestion process, and so you don't have that energy for your actual practice, for your dancing. I mean, you're here to bust a move, and so you don't have the energy to do that. So examples of that would be obviously all processed foods are very hard for the body to digest and take more energy from the body to digest. Definitely heavy meals. Do not have a big, you know, heavy meal right before you practice, and I'm sure you know that. The other thing is anything usually with high fat content is going to make you feel sluggish, and is going to take a lot more energy from your body to digest than something that's actually high in carbs. The other thing is protein, and protein is a little bit tricky because I really feel like everybody reacts to it differently. Some people find that a little bit of protein, especially lean protein, is really easy for them to digest, and it gives them energy and keeps them feel full and does not make you feel bloated or sluggish. But other people find the opposite, that protein is very hard for them to digest. And I am one of those people. Like I cannot eat protein before a workout or practice or anything like that, or dancing or performance. It really takes a lot of energy from my body to digest. And when I talk about protein here, I talk about all kinds of protein, honestly. Everybody reacts to them differently, whether it's a plant-based protein, lots like, you know, beans, lentils, and things like that. Some people find those very hard to digest, and some people find them okay. But again, it really depends on the quantity. You can really eat a small amount of beans and be okay, but if you eat a large amount, then you will feel like it's going to take a lot of energy to digest, and it's going to make you feel sluggish. But when it comes to meat, people are really different. Some people, even with lean meat, have a really hard time digesting it, and it makes them feel sluggish. And some people, as long as they don't eat heavy red meats with a lot of fat, they're fine, and they can move just okay and feel energetic. So see what works for you when it comes to protein, and of course apply that to your nutrition before your practice. Another thing that is kind of important to consider in your before practice is the combination of foods. There are, of course, some foods combined together that can give you more energy, like a little bit of carbs and a little bit of fat, but again, not heavy processed animal fat that always takes more energy from the body to digest. But something like, you know, an avocado and toast, where you have like some carbs and some light fat, tend to give you the most energy for the longest period of time. So think about that. Like, how long is your practice going to be? If it's not going to be too long, then maybe you could stick with just some carbs that are going to give you a little bit of energy for an hour. But if you're going to go for a long time, then you might want to consider a combination of fat and carbs. So I talked about what not to eat. Now, what is it that is best to eat, that's going to give you the most energy and make you feel energetic, light, and not, make you feel sluggish for your practice. I feel personally that carbs that are not processed carbs are the best. They're light and they give you sustainable energy for a long time, and your body digests them slowly, so you're not going to get that crash that you will get with processed carbs. So that would be things like fruit, and I'm a big fan of fruits right before practice. I think they're amazing and give you a lot of energy and hydration, and they also keep you light. They're not very, even though they're heavy in fiber, it's not the kind of fiber that's going to make you feel bloated. It digests really quickly because of the water content as well. So fruits are amazing, and for me, they're definitely my to-go-to food right before practice or performance, or anytime I actually need to get enough energy for any body movement of any sort, whether I'm going for a run or I'm doing a heavy HIIT workout or whatever. The other thing is veggies. They're not high obviously in calories, so they're not going to give you the most energy, but they are a light way to get energy, especially if you know that your practice is not going to be a heavy session and it's not going to go on for a long time. Like I said before, a combination of fat and carb is amazing if you know that you're going to need sustainable energy for a long time. But then stick with light fat, especially plant-based fat, like a little bit of nuts, or like I said, some avocados combined with some fiber, because you need the fiber to digest, of course, the fat. So combine it with some sort of carb that is going to help you digest the fat, and keep the amount of fat. If you do this combination, keep the amount of fat very small. So don't load yourself with fat, because it is still hard to digest for the body in large amount, even if it's a plant-based fat. The other thing I would advise you to always have before, but also after your practice, is any food that is that contains a good amount of potassium, because that really does help with muscle soreness. A lot of times, especially when you practice for a long time, or you practice muscles that you're not used to practicing, soreness is definitely something we all deal with. So to help with that, definitely make sure you have something that contains a lot of potassium. Bananas are amazing for that, because they contain great amount of high calorie carbs that is going to give you lots of energy, and they're also really high in fat. So for me, they're definitely my to-go-to food if I need lots of energy and potassium at the same time. So bananas are great, but again, don't do too much of them. A couple bananas are usually enough right before you practice. Now, they're also amazing. Let's talk this time about after you practice. They're also amazing after you practice, because after you practice, you definitely want to make sure you also consume something that is high in potassium to help with muscle soreness. Now, after practice, this is a time where you could, it depends obviously whether you feel like weak or you have not had enough food right before the practice, except for your little snack before class. You might decide to go for a heavy meal or not. Now, if you decide to go with a heavy meal, like I said, it really depends on the kind of session that you had. So if it was a heavy practice and you sweat a lot, you really worked really hard, then you can go for a combination of protein and carbs. And carbs really will just like replenish that energy that you used up in class. And the protein will help with the muscle, and the potassium definitely to help you with muscle soreness as well afterwards. So you can keep those in small amounts if you're not very hungry, or you can go for a large amount if you are hungry and you had a really heavy session of practice. Of course, water always, especially after you practice, load up with water. Definitely before, always just stick with water as a liquid. I'm a big fan of that. And stop with the energy drinks and all that kind of stuff, thinking that's going to give you energy. Get your energy from the food and stick with water for a liquid. Okay, so I think I'll stop right here. They're just generic, of course. There's lots of more details and examples of what you can prepare or what you can snack on and grab really quickly. And we can go into more details on those things, of course, in the future. So let me know what you think, if you found this helpful, and if you have other suggestions of things that you found were helpful to you that you consumed before or after your practice that made a big difference in your practice and how you felt. Share it with us, because everybody's always curious about that, and we'll talk about nutrition a little bit more on this blog. Okay, so the blog is freebodydoesclasses.com. That's the website. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Plenty of videos are coming up. I'll see you guys next time on Free Body Dance Classes. www.bellytalk.com. Bye.